What's up, fisher people? It's just you and me today. It's been a while since we had a little solo hangout. This feels like a nice fish, not gonna lie. I'm on sock. I'm on the Walleyes, chasing pre-spawners, and I feel like I got a nice one. Second spot of the day, 11:58 a.m. Check my drag. I'm gonna have to get this camera rotated here in case this fish comes up and it looks really nice. Feels like a Walter, and it's gonna go down. It bit like a Walter, it feels like a Walter. Be the right fish for me. Be the big pre-spawner I couldn't find at Mobridge. Come on, what do we got? We got a strong fish, that's all I know. It's really strong, as you can tell. The rod is doing its thing. We're playing it out. Not rushing anything. That is a giant walleye to start the day. Oh my word. We need you in the net. You need to get in this net for me. Right there. Yes! There's the stuff. Right there. That is such a pretty fish. That jig, not even in the mouth really. Such an easy release. Should I have measured that fish? Does it matter? I don't know. Whew, my hands are freezing though. But we got one. What do we got here? 39 degree water. Just had a massive cold front. Absolutely ridiculous. And it's been windy as heck for 4 or 5 days. And I'm finally out on the water getting big walleyes to tick my jig. Love it. So, spawn's an interesting thing, especially here at Sakakawea. It's like when we were fishing Mobridge last weekend, weather started to get really warm, and we're kind of in the upper reaches of Lake Sakakawea, closer to where it becomes almost a river, you know. We started to see males milking more and more consistently as the 3 days progressed. And I don't know if the females are spawning yet or if those males just happen to spew milk when they're stressed being caught. But it can go a little earlier in spots like that. If you're in a smaller lake, a shallow lake that warms up, like Devil's Lake, very much could be spawned out already for all I know here in North Dakota. But you can catch fish in the middle of the spawns there. You can catch in the same day a female with eggs, a female without eggs, males that are milking, all kinds of stuff. Sakakawea is kind of weird in that it seems like the day they start spawning, that's it. And then there's a 10-day hiatus where you might as well just not even try to fish for walleyes. It's just kind of the way it is. And I don't know why. But also, they stay a lot truer to their normal. Like, yeah, we've had a warm up, but I think partly because Sakakawea is so deep and it's river reservoir, it would take a lot for those temperatures to get warm enough to let them spawn, or they care more about the calendar, one or the other. So I really don't think these walleyes are going to go here until the end of April. And obviously, we've already been fortunate enough to catch one really nice fish. So I am on like a creek channel, the boat's sitting in 24 feet of water, and then the shallow flat behind me. I don't know where that fish hit exactly. I'm guesstimating 10 to 15 foot of water. I was casting into like 6 to 8, hit it like halfway back. So the major places you're going to find pre-spawn walleyes, obviously depends on the body of water you're on. Since we're fishing a big reservoir, part of the Missouri River system, there's all kinds of creek arms, and all the creek arms turn into bays. And the fish typically are going to come back into the creeks and the shallow gravel kind of stuff, especially if there's some current going from a creek, because they want to keep the eggs oxygenated to survive. However, is that where you're going to catch the fish? Not necessarily. Because if they're in there exactly where they lay their eggs, it's probably too late. You're going to have to find them on some areas just outside of that. If you're on a natural lake or a river and you can still catch fish during the spawn, yeah, you'll probably find some males show up a little ahead of the females. Females will move in and spawn their eggs within a day or two probably and push back out already. And the males hang around a little longer. I keep pulling in this piece of garbage here. Why am I doing this? Get it out of the way. It's no longer a problem. And in terms of depth, like, to me it really depends on whether or not you've had a big cold front like we've had, which is why I'm looking towards some deeper water. If you get a really nice warm up, I think the fish will still push up into shallow warm water to kind of soak in some sun a little bit. But I think a very common pre-spawn depth to find fish is kind of a 10 to 15 thing, maybe even 20 to 30 off some points in what they call staging areas, an area of structure where they can hang out until they're ready to go feed. If you're fishing a natural lake, you're looking for areas that have, again, that gravel substrate, not super big rock, but not sand necessarily. Sometimes they'll spawn on sand if that's all they got in that area. But something that the prevailing winds hit a lot, so there's a lot of wind movement. And then you're going to find similar spots like that here in Lake Sakakawea, which are typically the big bay system. The Van Hook Arm is a big bay. East End is a big bay. Deepwater Bay is a popular spawning spot. So any of those bigger bays are going to have kind of lake spawners. Then the creek arms are going to have fish looking for that flowing water. And then some fish are going to go all the way up into the river past Williston and that kind of stuff. And that's where they're going to spawn. It's hard to hit a pre-spawn window, especially on Sakakawea. You need the ice off in time, and then you need things to kind of go your way and the fish to cooperate, and it can be a really short window. I'm still a little surprised I got that fish. If I had gotten skunked today, I would have just accepted that because of that nasty, nasty cold front. Cold fronts in spring are just terrible. All right, this is a little more what I consider to be kind of a staging area. Out of the finger, out of the creek arm, on a big piece of structure that's got some steep water and then some shallow water. Kind of a big extended point from shore. And I marked fish all over the place, sweeping in there with side imaging. So the last spot I had fish, they just didn't appear to be very active. Active fish are kind of the key when you want to catch fish. Unless you got the magic touch to make them bite when they don't want to. That's a helpful skill to have if you got it. Maybe I'll rip a plastic around again a little bit at some point. See if I can piss one off. If you can't make them hungry, make them angry. Did I just make a saying? Has anybody said that before? Cruising up into the shallows here. Boat's in 7 feet. I'm casting closer than that. It is a walleye. Not quite as big. But it is 1:20 in the afternoon, so maybe we got some fish sunning their bellies up in the air. Let's see if we can land this. Is it a male or a female? Looks like just a shorter female. Nice fish. Just laid on that jig. I thought maybe I had a tree stump and then it started wiggling. Not a tank pre-spawner, but that's a dandy fish. I think that might be a female with some eggs in the 19-20 inch mark. I haven't seen any of those like super plump fish, you know, but we've only sawed 2, so we've only sawed 2 fish. Well, that fishing day was cut unfortunately short because I think my trolling motor batteries might be toast. I was looking into getting some lithium batteries, and now it might be forcing the issue on me a little faster than I had hoped, and the ones that I was potentially going to get would maybe have to be shipped, and I might need batteries like tomorrow. I don't know. 4 bars. Doesn't mean a whole lot though when your batteries are starting to go poopy. How long do those 4 bars last now? Not very long. Well, I think I'm kind of tired of this cycle of buying new lead acid batteries basically every year and a half. And that doesn't really cut it for me anymore. Jeez, my boat's dirty from the gravel and the wind yesterday. I gotta do the lithium thing, I think, because these lead acid batteries, the interstate ones, which last a year and a half, are getting they're like $200 anymore for 3 batteries, because the typical setup for a 36 volt trolling motor is you get 3 12 volt 100 amp hour batteries. 3 of those suckers is like $600, and you're doing that every year and a half. And the lithium batteries, if anything, are coming down a little bit. But the problem is there's like so many of them in the market. There's just like tons of lithium batteries, and then you get like some with different features. You can't charge lithium batteries below freezing or you can ruin the battery. So some of them have a temperature sensor and a heater so that you can charge them because they heat them. And then some have the Bluetooth thing so you can monitor your battery so you know how much draw you got and when you need to charge them and when you need to stop fishing, which is cool. Others don't. And then they also got like single 36 volt batteries. So should you get 3 12 volts or should you get 1 36 volt? And then somebody told me about, 100 amp hours kind of been the standard that we use for trolling motors. There's a 36 volt amped outdoors battery, 60 amps. And he says he knows some people that have never run that thing out in a day of fishing, but are they running it down far enough to where they're damaging the battery and shortening the life? I don't know that answer, but it's like a 40% of the price of getting some of the 36 volt batteries. And at least those are sold at Shields, well, something I can get local, whereas all these other ones I have to like order online, and then it takes like days to get here, which is cramping my current situation, and also will be cramping the situation if something broke and I needed a replacement. Batteries are, yeah. Why don't we just go fishing? Take our mind off of this. It's Sunday anyway, and I can't really make any progress because nobody's open, so. So I think this battery thing, I'm down to like 3 choices. If I want to get something easy local, that amped outdoors battery, the 136 volt 60 amp hour is intriguing. I'm just a little concerned if I'm spot locking in heavy winds that I'm going to run out of battery and it's not going to be enough. And I don't want to get lithium batteries to like still have to monitor my battery all the time and be like, am I burning too much? Should I use the kicker to assist? All the stuff that I do now. I don't want to get into that game if I'm doing lithiums, On the other hand, for the stuff I got to order, there's like the cheap ones you can find on Amazon, which look like they're probably solid and decent, but the problem with there is it doesn't sound like there's great customer support. I think they're mostly Chinese companies. So if you get it and you're having a hard time either with the battery functioning or the app monitoring, support might be hard to come by. So there's this brand called Epic, which I always thought those letters pronounced the word epoch, but whatever, they call it Epic, I think. They look like the best of the best in terms of like you don't need battery trays because they got built-in little things on the side of the battery where you can screw it in. And then they got nice straps. They're not super heavy. if you get the 312 volts, 120 amp hours, they're like $800. But then they also have a 36 volt battery, but it is 75 pounds, but it's 100 amp hours, and I feel a lot more confident with 100 amp hours, and that's like $1,800. And they got the heater and all that good stuff, and the app, and like I think it's the best battery, and they're based out of like Georgia. So I still have to get it shipped, but I've talked to them on the phone, and like I know I can just like call them if I have trouble. So that's kind of my decision point, and I'm gonna have to figure something out here tomorrow, Monday, and make a decision. We'll see how much I get. I mean, flat calm conditions, I'm sure I could row my trolling motor most of the day, but these fish are out there, but they're not biting. We got 38 here. We'll give this a shake. Rolled into one of the bays. Nice little sand flat, wind pushing into the corner. Some flooded trees around. Good stuff. Well, I'm learning a couple of things. It would appear there's not a ton of super shallow fish yet. As I'm cruising at 8 feet, I'd probably say I see 70–80% of the fish on the deep side of me. And also they're not super bitey this morning. So I'm probably gonna blow out of here too. Just keep plugging away at them. Find a new batch of fishes and throw a bait. Do we think that's a snag? Yeah, that's what we think that is. We need to find some hungry fish. I'm starting to get hungry. I guess no one ever said fishing had to be easy. If it's not the equipment being finicky, it's probably the fish. The pendulum swings back and forth from total frustration to pure ecstasy so fast it'll make your head spin some days. But in those moments of ecstasy, I can't seem to remember anything else. Also, my buddy Randy made a perfect video about lithium batteries. So if anybody else is contemplating, thinking about their battery situation, I'd highly recommend checking that out at Ripping Lips Adventures on YouTube.